Hello everyone. Today we're going to be discussing one of the things that I feel like I've learned with the most in the last 2 years I've been working as a software engineer. Well, to be honest, I've been working as a programmer for longer, but as a backend engineer, it's been only the last 2 years. So it starts, or I guess the topic is called incident management process. And it seems like a very long wordy thing, just saying, oh shit, everything's on fire, what do I do? That's kind of what it's meant to do. And anyways, some background. I've been working as a software engineer for the last couple of years, and I have realized that things tend to break. In software, everything just tends to break. It happens. What matters is how you deal with that. Whether obviously you have stuff like automatic rollbacks, blah 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 blah. But when those things fail, you're eventually going to lead into a situation where your business is going to be impacted negatively. And today we're going to be talking about those kind of scenarios. So first, let's tackle one of the first questions, which is what counts as a critical issue? Well, this is a hard question. It depends exactly on the type of business or organization that you're working with. So for example, if I'm a logistics company, the system that allows me to track the packages and which trucks they are in will probably be pretty important. But if I'm mostly focused around just handling the manufacturing of the shipments that are inside of it, I probably don't care as much about it if it's been offboarded to a different company. So it becomes an after fact for reporting. Then probably it's fine if it's delayed, the data is delayed by a couple days. So it depends definitely on the type of organization that you're working with. But I would definitely just put it in the words of a critical issue. It's basically anything that it can affect the business or has a very high business impact or is affecting a large amount of customers. So if you're a B2B company, if your integration with any other business is down, you probably want to fix it as soon as possible, of course. And if obviously your site is down, that's a critical issue, of course. So that's basically the basic definition. So now you have a critical issue. How do they happen? Well, usually you have a given system, whether it's something like, if you're in data, you might have an Airflow instance that you are running and you have some important pipelines running there, and it might break. And someone, whether it's through an automated alert, hopefully, or through a manual person, just goes and sees that the data is not there and like, oh shit, and raises to the team that it's not working. Whether it's one or the other, you're gonna end up having to go into a war room to be able to figure out how to fix this. Sometimes if it's a small team, you might end up doing it yourself, but I would heavily recommend the team and several people to work on this, because there's a big thing about knowledge transfer and information that can be expressed in a better way through the incident management process. So a lot of learnings. Okay, now the phone rang or a critical alert triggered, what do I do? Well, I would say to start from the beginning. If you got called for an alert that is related to one of the services that you maintain, you definitely want to have the big point of ownership. You should definitely care. Well, care maybe is a strong word. You should definitely understand that you are being called because, or you are in this process because you have a lot of knowledge about the system. You are the one that owns it. Your team is the one that maintains it. You're the one that has them or knows the ins and outs of your system. This leads to you being the leader. Whether there's already people involved in this particular incident that were also called, you are there to bring up the expertise that you know about and how to solve it. So you should definitely keep that in mind. The second thing that I see the most often not being used properly is to have a constant clear communication. This means that you express every single thing that you're checking, everything that you're doing, which commands are you applying, how are you actually going about this, what kind of hypothesis do you have. this will help not only for the current incident that's going on, but also to be able to write a postmortem later on, to be able to make the conclusions on how good we did during the incident, how slow we were, why we were slow, or why we were fast, and also to be able to determine the action items afterwards. I would say the clear communication is one of the most important things during an incident. Another thing that I would say is very important is to be able to keep an open mind. When everything's on fire and you might know what it is, but you are tunnel visioning to that particular part of the system that you think it broke because of that, you might end up wasting a lot of time going down a rabbit hole that doesn't lead anywhere. You might solve or think you solved the issue, but you are blocking everyone else's ideas on what actually might be causing it. That doesn't mean that you should be taking into consideration every single hypothesis, but rather that you should be trying to iterate really quickly over the hypothesis that you do have. For example, you might say, the service is down. Okay, indeed, the process inside the machine that is running it is crashing. That you might say that. So if you're running in Kubernetes, you might check, is the Kubernetes pod in a crash loop? It might not. If it's not, oh shit, it's not reachable still. Is the serve process inside the pod dying somehow? Because maybe you're pointing the health check to some other container within the pod and the other container is not working. Something like this. So you go down this rabbit hole of on different hypotheses that are easy to solve. You don't go really hard and really bad into the architecture and whatever, because you're gonna spend hours on this shit. You really have to go small, check one thing at a time, check the traces, check the logs, check the process system, anything that you want. But just try to do it quickly and discard it quickly. I think that's one of the most important things. And finally, keep an egoless mindset. I see a lot of people that are very defensive when it comes down to their systems failing, because obviously everyone is a software engineer, everyone is proud of their work, and that's fine. But it's not about, when I'm talking about any problem that might have aroused your system, I'm not talking about your work. Your work is great. I'm talking about it, what could have caused it, and maybe it's something with your system that we can together improve. And that's all it takes. So please, if you are the receiver of this alert, make into consideration that you might have made a mistake. You might have not realized something, and that's okay. If you are in the type of organization where mistakes cannot happen, and the safe roads for you to make those mistakes are not built, maybe it's not the type of business you want to be working with. And that's just my takeaway. Okay, so you have managed to follow these tips and keep them in mind and use your really good development skills to be able to find and mitigate the issue. What do I do now? Well, one important thing about the instance is that you really have to care about the action items. The idea of having an incident management process is to make sure that this doesn't get repeated again. This is through the outcome of that, which is a postmortem. Postmortem, just like medical stuff, is about investigating why it happened, how it happened, and how can we prevent this from happening. So we want to make sure to understand the line of thought that followed during the incident, which is why a clear communication that is written is very important. This will allow us to obviously further go back into it and reread it. And here we will have a timeline of events that will allow us to summarize what went on. And we will come up with action items that will prevent this from happening. For example, if this alert of this issue was acknowledged by a person, the first action should be, can we automate the detection of this kind of problems? That would be the best thing that I would think about, because I don't want to wait until one of my coworkers realizes that this problem exists. I want to be alerted just as it happens. And I think that would be the first action item in that case. So I think it's very important to be able to think about this and realize, hey, how do I wanna fix this problem? How can I make sure that I don't get woken up in the middle of the night because this is breaking? Once you have all these action items, I think they should be highly prioritized. So that means that they don't go out to the backlog just to sit there and just wait 2-3 weeks until the issue happens again because you haven't fixed it, because the features take more priority. No, they don't. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be frustrated if you're a software developer that's working on the system and you're still building some features. You're going to end up being frustrated because it's going to happen over and over again until the day that you leave the company. So keep that in mind and focus on fixing the issue as soon as the postmortem is finished and reading, and everyone agreeing to it. Okay? So that's are my key takeaways for now. And to summarize and to put in conclusion, I think that postmortems are one of the most valuable tools to be able to learn how are the cons and the pros of an entire system. Everyone can write a cool Medium post or a cool YouTube video or a LinkedIn post on how microservices are the best new thing, or how monoliths, or how you have now domain services or SPAs or whatever, how they're the best next thing. However, when the incident happens and when the failures happen and when they're misused, that's when you realize what are the downfalls. And that's when you learn how to build better systems. This is how we learn from each other, by making mistakes. And it's important to document those mistakes and learn from them. So please do that and let me know in the comments what you think about it. How would you go about implementing an incident management process? And see you next video. If you like this, please hit a like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. And maybe I'll make a next video about what I think about postmortems more in depth if you want. Bye bye.